Hi guys, I'm Jennifer and welcome to my channel, Mint Green Gypsy. I've had a lot of new subscribers lately and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's here watching. Today I have 3 spring DIY projects for you plus a bonus project. In project 1, I'm using the IOD Primitive Mold. First, I dust the mold with cornstarch, making sure to dump out the excess so I can easily remove the air-dry clay casting. I find this step especially helpful when using the smaller, more detailed parts of the mold. I find the best way to remove the casting is to flip the mold over and bend it back, letting the casting just fall out. The next step is to glue the castings to my project piece. So I am applying a thin coat of Aleen's Tacky glue and gluing the casting to a 5-inch wood round that I got from Michaels. This was a really easy process because the castings easily stuck to the raw wood without sliding around. It is important not to use too much glue because it will squeeze out from around the casting and you will be able to see it in your finished project. If I do have any extra glue around the edges, I use a wet wipe and wipe it away the best I can. After I glued down the castings, I look at them from a side angle to make sure they are secured flat and not lifting away from the project piece. If they are lifting or curling, I gently press them back down and I continue checking for this throughout the drawing process. Here I am using Fusion Mineral paint in the color Cashmere. I like to let my castings dry for about 30 minutes and then give them a light coat of paint. Letting them dry a little first lets the clay harden enough to stand up to the paintbrush, and painting them slows the drying process and reduces any cracking that could occur. You will see in a moment I changed my mind about the color of the wood rounds several times. I had a hard time getting them the color I wanted to match the blue and white candlesticks that I ultimately glue the wood rounds to. After I decided the cashmere wasn't going to work, I painted them with Fusion's Antiquing Glaze. Because I put the glaze on top of an off-white paint, the wood rounds came out too light and did not match the blue and white candlesticks. Next, I got out my Rust-Oleum glaze in the color Java Brown, which is a really dark brown. I use it when I'm giving a piece of furniture a faux Pottery Barn finish. I even got my deck staining brushes out that I used for that finish and tried it on the wood rounds. I still didn't like the way it looked. After the glaze dried overnight, I decided I would try Debi's DIY Golden Ticket, which was getting closer to what I was looking for. I wanted the gold a little darker, so I added some dark wax and wiped back the excess. Now I'm happy with the wood rounds. Sometimes you have to just keep trying until you get your desired outcome. And here I'm showing you the difference between the gold with and without the dark wax. Now it's time to glue the ceramic candlesticks to the wood round. For this I am using E6000. This glue has a very strong hold and has worked on all finishes that I've tried it on. And guys, off camera I painted the bottom of the wood rounds with golden ticket because the risers are going in my shop. And here's the finished project. Let me know what you think in the comments. Project 2 is a fun one. I am using the new IOD Wild Berries mold and I'm casting a strawberry and a strawberry bloom. I like to use a transfer tool to help me remove excess clay from the mold. Those small parts get tricky sometimes, but you can just roll up the clay and try again. I am using Aleen's Tacky glue to glue the castings onto a mini clay pot. I broke that tiny stem again, so I am using a clay tool that I got at Dollar Tree to smooth the broken clay back together. I put a small amount of Debi's DIY white Swan on a dish and added some water to thin it out. And now I'm lightly painting the clay pot. Because the pot is very porous, it absorbs the paint quickly. You can always use a sanding pad to remove any extra paint if desired. Next, I am dry brushing onto the clay to bring out the details of the casting. To dry brush, you lightly dip your brush into the paint and offload any excess paint onto craft paper or a paper plate before painting your item with a very light hand. Here I used Fusion's Bayberry DIY Cottage Color Barn Quilt, Fusion's Metallic Pearl, and Debi's DIY Queen Bee to paint the strawberry and the bloom. This is a raw wood base of a cloche that I got at Michael's after Christmas at 90% off. If they had more, I would have purchased them because I really love making cloche scenes. Unfortunately, I find it hard to find a cloche at a decent price. Anyway, I'm using Fusion's Antiquing Glaze to paint the base of the cloche. After the glaze dried, I'm going over the base with Fusion's Tough Coat clear top coat. Okay, I'm moving on to another element of this project. I got these wood cutout frames from Dollar Tree and I am painting them with Fusion's French Eggshell. I have cut out a piece of watercolor paper that will fit inside the frames. I'm transferring strawberries, flowers, a frog, and a fly from the new Wilde Bloom IOD transfer pack. I'm adding transfers to both sides of the watercolor paper to fit inside the frame so that my cloche has a 360 scene. It's a lot of fun to cut out different elements from the transfer pack and make them your own, and that's what I'm doing here. I drew a light pencil line so I will know the space where the transfer needs to be applied. I erased the pencil line when I was done with the transfer. I'm using Aleen's Tacky glue to glue the frames and watercolor paper together. I'm hot gluing this wood stick to the bottom of the frame to help hold it in place when it's added to the cloche scene. Off camera, I used Tite Bond wood glue on the inside corners of the frames for extra security. I held the corners together with clothespins and let the glue dry overnight. To complete the mini frame, I went around the edge with gold wax. And now I am securing all of the elements of my scene to the base of the cloche with hot glue. The little fox I picked up at the thrift store. And here I'm gluing down some reindeer moss. These foam mushrooms I bought 2 fall seasons ago from a craft store. I cut the end of one off at an angle and glued it to the side of the other, and then attached them both to the base. I found some dried flowers in my stash that were close to the French eggshell color I painted the frame, and I glued them into the reindeer moss. And here's a peek of what everything looks like so far. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. The last element I'm adding to the cloche scene is the mini frame. The finished project is coming up. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Guys, I've had all of these candle making supplies in my stash for years, and I'm finally getting around to making them. It was so easy and they turned out so adorable. I'm not sure why I waited so long. The candle making kit, beeswax, and the camping stove all came from Amazon. The coconut oil I purchased recently at the grocery store, and the teacups are vintage Noritake Fairmont that I found at an estate sale. I have the wax melting in a stainless pitcher from the candle making kit, which is sitting in a pot of very hot water. The ratio of wax I used was 1 pound of beeswax to 1/2 cup of coconut oil. I had a little less than 1 pound of beeswax and ended up filling 3 teacups. Now this is my first time making candles, so I certainly am not an expert. From the research I've done, the beeswax is very soft and burns quickly, and the coconut oil is harder and helps slow the burn of the candle. After I poured in the wax, I sprinkled some lavender buds on top of the wet wax. This does not add a scent, but it makes them look pretty. I think next time I will fill 1 teacup at a time while I put the pitcher of wax back in the hot water and then add the lavender instead of pouring all 3 and then adding the lavender afterwards, because the wax hardened quickly and not all of the lavender buds were held into the wax. Now, these candles are technically unscented, but beeswax has a soft honey smell that I love. And guys, that's all I had to do, and these turned out so adorable. I'll definitely be making more in the future. I'm calling this a bonus project because I did not plan on having this project in today's video, but when I was making the candles, I found that one of the teacups had a chip. I did not want to use that cup for a candle because the point of the teacup candle is you can use the teacup after the candle burns, and plus the chip shows. So anyway, I got out my moss and I just put it in the shape of a bird's nest, and I hot glued the moss down into the cup, and then I found some faux eggs that I had and I hot glued them into the nest. And then I added some dried flowers into the moss. I thought the teacup nest could use something extra, so I got out my letter stamps from Michaels and my IOD China Blue ink, and I stamped out the word spring. And next I went around the edge of the little sign with the blue ink. The R didn't come out as dark as I wanted it to, so I just carefully restamped it. Next I found some twigs in my stash. I definitely didn't have any in my yard, so I believe these were from Michaels. I used Aleen's Tacky glue and hot glue, and I glued the spring sign to the twigs. After I got the paper spring sign to stick to the twigs, I hot glued it down into the moss, and this project was complete. Guys, thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I'll see you next week. Don't forget to let me know what you think about all of these projects down in the comments. Thanks again.